Bhakti or Devotion, Part 3. The vast majority of men are atheists. I am glad that in modern times another class of atheists has come into existence in the Western world. I mean the materialists. They are sincere atheists. They are better than the religious atheists who are insincere, who fight and talk about religion and yet do not want it, never try to realize it, never try to understand it. Remember the words of Christ: ask and it shall be given you, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. These words are literally true, not figures or fiction. They were the outflow of the heart's blood of one of the greatest sons of God who have ever come to this world of ours, words which came as the fruit of realization from a man who had felt and realized God himself, who had spoken with God, lived with God 100 times more intensely than you or I see this building. Who wants God? That is the true question. Do you think that all this mass of people in the world want God and cannot get Him? That cannot be. What want is there without its object outside? Man wants to breathe and there is air for him to breathe. Man wants to eat and there is food to eat. What creates these desires? The existence of external things. It was the light that made the eyes, it was the sound that made the ears. So every desire in human beings has been created by something which already existed outside. This desire for perfection, for reaching the goal and getting beyond nature, how can it be there until something has created it and drilled it into the soul of man and makes it live there? He, therefore, in whom this desire is awakened, will reach the goal. We want everything but God. This is not religion that you see all around you. My lady has furniture in her parlor from all over the world, and now it is the fashion to have something Japanese. So she buys a vase and puts it in her room. Such is religion with the vast majority. They have all sorts of things for enjoyment, and unless they add a little flavor of religion, life is not all right because society would criticize them. Society expects it, so they must have religion. This is the present state of religion in the world. A disciple went to his master and said to him, Sir, I want religion. The master looked at the young man and did not speak, but only smiled. The young man came every day and insisted that he wanted religion. But the old man never but the old man knew better than the young man. One day, when it was very hot, he asked the young man to go to the river with him and take a plunge. The young man plunged in, and the old man followed him and held the young man down under the water by force. After the young man had struggled for a while, he let him go and asked him what he wanted most while he was under the water. A breath of air, the disciple answered. Do you want God in that way? If you do, you will get him in the moment, said the master. Until you have that thirst, that desire, you cannot get religion. However, you may struggle with your intellect or your books or your forms. Until that thirst is awakened in you, you are no better than any atheist. Only the atheist is sincere and you are not. A great sage used to say, suppose there is a thief in a room, and somehow he comes to know that there is a vast mass of gold in the next room, and that there is only a thin partition between the two rooms. What would be the condition of that thief? He would be sleepless. He would not be able to eat or do anything. His whole mind would be on getting that gold. Do you mean to say that if all these people really believed that the mine of happiness, of blessedness, of glory were here, they would act as they do in the world without trying to get God? As soon as a man begins to believe there is a God, he becomes mad with longing to get to him. Others may go their way, but as soon as a man is sure that there is a much higher life than that which he is leading here, as soon as he feels sure that the senses are not all, that this limited material body is as nothing compared with the immortal, eternal, undying bliss of the self, he becomes mad until he finds out this bliss for himself. And this madness, this thirst, this mania is what is called the awakening to religion. And when that has come, a man is beginning to be religious. And when that has come, but it takes a long time. All these forms and ceremonies, these prayers and pilgrimages, these books, bells, candles, and priests are the preparations. They take off the impurities from the soul. And when the soul has become pure, it naturally wants to get to the mine of all purity, God Himself. Just as a piece of iron which had been covered with the dust of centuries might be lying near a magnet all the time and yet not be attracted by it. But as soon as the dust is cleared away, the iron is drawn by the magnet. So when the human soul, covered with the dust of ages, impurities, wickedness, and sins after many births, becomes purified enough by these forms and ceremonies, by doing good to others, loving other beings, its natural spiritual attraction comes. It wakes up and struggles towards God. Yet all these forms and symbols are simply the beginning, not true love of God. Love we hear spoken of everywhere. Everyone says love God. Men do not know what it is to love. If they did, they would not talk so glibly about it. Every man says he can love and then in no time finds out that there is no love in his nature. Every woman says she can love and as soon finds out that she cannot. The world is full of the talk of love, but it is hard to love. Where is love? How do you know that there is love? The first test of love is that it knows no bargaining. So long as you see a man love another only to get something from him, you know that that is not love. It is shopkeeping. Wherever there is any question of buying and selling, it is not love. So when a man prays to God, give me this and give me that, it is not love. How can it be? I offer you a prayer and you give me something in return. That is what it is, mere shopkeeping. A certain great king went to hunt in a forest, and there he happened to meet a sage. He had a little conversation with him and became so pleased with him that he asked him to accept a present from him. No, said the sage. I am perfectly satisfied with my condition. These trees give me enough fruit to eat. These beautiful pure streams supply me with all the water I want. I sleep in these caves. What do I care for your presence, though you be an emperor? The emperor said, just to purify me, to gratify me, come with me into the city and take some present. At last the sage consented to go with the emperor, and he was taken into the emperor's palace, where there were gold, jewelry, marble, and most wonderful things. Wealth and power were manifest everywhere. The emperor asked the sage to wait a minute while he repeated his prayer, and he went into the corner and began to pray, Lord, give me more wealth, more children, more territory. In the meanwhile, the sage got up and began to walk away. The emperor saw him going and went after him. Stay, sir, you did not take my present and are going away. The sage turned to him and said, Beggar, I do not beg of beggars. What can you give? You have been begging yourself all the time. This is not the language of love. What is the difference between love and shopkeeping if you ask God to give you this and give you that? The first test of love is that it knows no bargaining. Love is always the giver and never the taker. Says the child of God, if God wants, I give him my everything, but I do not want anything of him. I want nothing in this universe. I love him because I want to love him, and I ask no favor in return. Who cares whether God is almighty or not? I do not want any power from him, nor any manifestation of his power. Sufficient for me that he is the God of love. I ask no more question.